The more I worked, the less I ended up achieving. Let me tell you exactly why that is. There's 5 key things that has significantly changed the way that I've worked on my agency and the way that I just carried myself and worked in general. And this ultimately allowed me to 2 to 3x my output by actually doing less. Now, what is very much out there in today's day and age, and you'll see these people, Alex Hormozi is a big adapter of work every hour, every second that you get, and some of these other people saying, hey, if you're not working, 12 days and you're a loser or whatever the deal is, and then ultimately have this anxiety. And I'm sure you have you ever felt there's any time you're not working, you think about working, right? Isn't that concerning? You end up wanting to build something, start something, and allow you to have freedom, and especially if it's an online business or even in a real life business, right? If you are not working and you're sitting there just all you are thinking about working where you could be doing better, having that anxiety, that buildup, it just ends up now feeling like a burden. Really, because we came to this route for this freedom, for this time, for this ability to make a difference, to give opportunities. And now you might even be starting to build resentment for it, right? So the 5 key points of what happened to me was this. I know there's going to be some people out there where, yes, you have to be on the grind, right? You always have to be working because you have people who are easily outworking you. It all depends on what your ultimate goal is, all right? For me, it's to build a company that helps grow other businesses, that changes the way that they see marketing and the way that they work with others, done through us, whole process A to Z. And by doing that, and same thing with teaching people as well, it gives me the hope and gives me the satisfaction of this is what I want to be doing and this is how I feel happy about making a difference. And with that being said, I'll flat out go to tell you, unlike some other people on the internet will, is that I don't genuinely want to work all the time. And you could take that however you want, but I'll just preface it to you by, listen, over for example, Christmas break, yeah, I could have been dialed in, and I was. I worked a majority of the days. I released Agency Ignition. I did this, I did that. But the thing is, most importantly, is I was with my family for New Year's, for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, right? And work just isn't more important to me than spending time with family. And now, you have 2 sides of the coin here, right? You're going to have some people where you're going to take this into great consideration, or you're going to have some lackadaisy people who say, oh, well, I don't need to work all the time, and then they don't get nothing done. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when it comes to a choice where we only live once, my goal is to make as many memories, to change people's lives, and to leave a name for myself. That's my goal. So when I want to spend time with my family, of course, I'm going to spend all the time with them because guess what, right? Business and money is not everything. No, knock on wood. If something were to happen, am I going to sit there and be like, oh man, I'm actually okay that I spent so much time neglecting my family to work on my business? No. And I'm just using that as an example. Okay, but the point that I'm trying to make is that I don't firmly believe that you need to be working all, because at least for myself, this is where we'll get into the points of, this is where I saw that just quality and that expertise of what I know and do just significantly fall off, all right? Tension, I don't know, sake and tension and length. Number 1 is I stopped working for the sake of working. This is really important because this is like that 50-50 work hard, play hard mentality, but it's really key because how many times have you got on a sales call or maybe talking to your friends or messaging other people and you're just saying like, hey, I'm so busy right now. I mean, it's just, I'm crazy busy all the time and all that stuff. I don't ever say that anymore because you're like glorifying in your head that you're always so busy, right? And it's very interesting to me because, yes, we always feel like there's a million things going on, but we don't want to get caught up in this fallacy of we're always busy, we're always working, and ultimately, there's been times before I've worked through 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. pulling all-nighters to work on client projects and things like that, and it was a slow-moving needle, and it was a terrible process, but I felt like if I spent that time working, then tomorrow would be better so I could catch up on it, but then tomorrow's a lot worse because I just had like no sleep and it's horrific. So the point that I'm trying to make for number one is that you need to not work just to say you're working, and you have to understand point number two, which is your intention of working, right? Because if I am focused on these heavy set tasks, these areas of improvement that I need to make that I can move the needle on, yeah, I'd much rather do that, because I still will always say to this day, if you had a 7-8 hour work session that was completely dialed in, or even 6 hours, that's where you're going to see so many better results compared to working from 12, 14, 16 hours. And I just think that's sheer from your quality, right? It's the same thing. What do we always preach to other people? What's better, quality or quantity, right? We're always going to say quality. So the same thing should go for your working hours. If you're going to spend 14 hours with subpar, distracted, high or unquality work, then you can easily understand why the 6 hours is going to win when you stay ridiculously strict to exactly how you give off yourself, how you take care of your work. And this leads me now into point number three, which is those dedicated deep work slots. In today's day and age, as you are currently aware, there's always going to be distractions. Here, I'll tell you, your biggest enemy is this thing right here. This is your biggest enemy. And the reason why that is because why do you think it was engineered? And I'm sure you've seen it in a couple of my shorts or my YouTube. You always see sometimes I have a flip phone sitting around, all right? Laugh at me, sure, it's silly. But the thing is that I always leave this phone in my bedroom, and wherever I go throughout the day, I have the flip phone. And it's not because I don't have self-control, but it's just, most importantly, I think that us in this day and age, you have everything that is going on, right? Just simple, the buzz, the text, the call, or just having it in your pocket. I'm sure you felt like your phone's buzzed before in your pocket and you take it out and nothing's happened, right? Simple things like that. Or if you guys still do the scrolling on TikTok and Instagram, right? Things like that. Everything is so geared now to take your attention. YouTube, ads, billboards, and things like that. You want to make it so you can limit that as much as possible. So when I schedule these deep work sessions, I have about 6 of them per week, okay? So I have one on Monday, which is my entire morning on Monday and my entire afternoon on Tuesday. So from 9 a.m. to 12, and then from 2 to 6. So it's practically 9 to 1 and 2 to 6. So those are individual 4-hour work blocks that I don't look at Slack, I don't look at emails, I don't even have a phone nearby. And most of the time, I'm working on my laptop in silence, right? No Brain FM, no white noise, no bumping music in the background. Because to tap in and master your flow state, how would your life be different if you could just, you're in flow state? You're dialed in, and you don't need any other distractions going on around you, right? When that happens, at the same time as my blocks of deep work, I end up getting so much done. And that's why I don't need to end up working 15, 16 hours, because I know when I'm in those periods, I'm crunching significantly. And as I'm crunching and getting the work done, and it's becoming high quality, because guess what, now there's no distractions, no dopamine hits from anywhere else. It's just purely using 100% of my brain, because a lot of this is creativity work. You want to be different, you want to stand out, you want to get the best results. It's all about being very creative. And you ultimately want to rid yourself of all those different influential pieces. So Monday I do that on Friday also, and I do it on Wednesday mornings and Saturday mornings. So that leaves me with a total of 6 blocks throughout the week, and then Saturday afternoons if I want, right? Which most of the time is a yes, unless I have something planned, like a business dinner or whatever the case may be. So Point being is that these blocks are very important, and you want to try to have as many of them as possible rather than manager blocks, which the difference is those are your maintenance tasks, because you have things that your attention stealers, like checking your Slack, your sales calls, your just maintenance things, letting clients know updates, things like that, right? So all of this needs to be monitored and tracked so you can understand where your time's going. And when you do this, it rids yourself of any, I feel like I didn't get enough work done, because now you're looking at it, now you're protecting it, and now you're using it for meaningful work, right? I'm sure lots of times maybe you were like fiddling around with your finances for too long, or you were checking out your social media comments on a new YouTube video, or doing your research, right? There's so many things we try to fill up with this working aspect, but ultimately that's not it. And this is why you see some of those guys online post about that they work 4 hours a day and still make 100K a month, because guess what? Those 4 hours are intense dialed in work sessions. They're not like working around like 4 hours just having a chat with your friend drinking an espresso. That's not what they're doing. Now, number 4 is being brutally clear on what matters right now. What is the most important task? And I know we talked about this a little bit before, but I'll just come out and say it again. What is the most important task? And if you're starting new, there's so many things you have to do. Automations, you have to set up your CRM, you have to do business, blah, blah. And even if you are where you're at right now, right? And you're focusing on so many different things, content, this and this and that. But when you really think about it, what is the most important thing right now? 99% of it's money, right? You want to grow the business because with more money, you could do this, you could do that, you could do this, you could hire more, you can get better assets, better quality, more ad budget, more emails, more campaigns, whatever the deal it is. But typically money always stems from your solution, or is a solution to the problem. So how do we do that? We acquire more clients, okay, more business. And how do we do that is where you're going to use that focusing energy and task, right? Because again, even though we have business online nowadays, I always tell my prospects that if Zoom wasn't so convenient, we'd be doing this meeting in person, because that's the type of person I am. Like, it doesn't carry any weight to the conversation, but it adds a little to who I am as a person. And I always say that, hey, if you're nearby or in town or something like that, I'll buy you lunch or whatever the case may be, right? And I've done that before, right? I had one time, I took a sales call, somebody lived right here in Winter Park, and I said, hey, let's just go get coffee instead, or let's go get breakfast. And then we met up and chatted about business for, the whole hour or so. So the point being is that you want to focus on what's actually important moving tasks. So you don't want to waste time with fiddling around if the box doesn't look right on your site, right? Because at the end of the day, is somebody going to purchase a decision because your box doesn't line up with the others? I'm just using that as an example, but there's so many other different things, right? The right caption, the right campaign, it all kind of comes full circle to a couple of these videos if you've been watching them throughout this week of this is that perfectionism, or that's I'm trying to get this stuff done because I want to be busy. And it goes right into number 5, where once again, it's just stop glorifying being busy, okay? Because yes, we may feel that way. Yes, we tell everybody that, right? I hear it from my mom, I hear it from my dad, I hear it from the prospects I take sales calls with, I hear it from my own employees. And the thing is that every time you tell someone, yeah, I'm super busy, this happens, it's not like that anymore, right? It doesn't give any weight, because I don't know what it is psychologically with us that wants to tell people, hey, like, you're up to this. It's like almost like keeping up with the Joneses type mentality. But ultimately, right, none of that actually matters. And instead of just being busy, you're working, right? I mean, obviously, if I went to go work at a restaurant I used to, obviously I'm busy working, but it's not like, oh, so busy. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, or if I'm explaining it the right way that I should, but ultimately, I just think that once you just stop with that mentality, you ultimately understand that when I work hard, this is the period I work hard, and when I play hard is when I play hard. Because don't get me wrong, I like to do a bunch of other things, right? I like going to the gym every day. I like going for walks every day. I like reading books, okay? I like those activities, right? So ultimately, in my journey of life, I want to find a way to balance it all. And obviously, there's some days where I can't walk or read or go to the gym as much as others, because sometimes there's activities, but I try to always make it at least a little bit of a portion, okay? And if you read Atomic Habits, this is a really big point that they bring up, is that even one day Friday, my friend was making dinner for an hour, and I was going over, and I just finished recording content, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to the gym even if it's for 30-40 minutes before I go over there, just to still go, because I didn't go in the morning because I had an early call with somebody from the UK at like 6 or 7 or 8 a.m. give or take, wherever the time slot is, which is when I normally go to the gym. So the point being that I want to say is that you want to make sure you find a key balance and work on extremely productive and fully fledged meaningful tasks, okay? And if it's not, then don't worry about it and or don't prioritize it, because time is unbelievably precious. It's going to be worth more as you continue to grow. It's going to be worth more than houses, cars, any amount of money you could have in your bank account, all right? It's basically inqualifiable asset, right? We just can't put a number on it, but it's worth a lot, okay? In like your entire lifespan. So you have to spend it wisely. You have to understand that there's going to be a lot of things, and even your best friend or people that's going to try to take that time for you. But then you need to understand, if during these 2-hour, 4-hour work blocks, am I remaining completely undistracted, or am I letting other things distract or bother me? But when I'm outside of those hours, am I dedicated some time to, all right, call mom, call dad, call grandma, grandpa, saying, hey, how are you? Everything good? 5-10 minute phone call, because you know, what's important, okay? That's all I have to say here. Just ultimately my 5 points that I wanted to take away from this video is stop in my philosophy of you can't be working 14, 18 hours a day because your quality just significantly decreases, right? If you just bang out high quality, undistracted work, you're gonna see yourself get a lot more done and still be able to do the things you love, like go to the gym and cook for yourself and whatever else your hobbies may be.